Welcome to Powered by Authenticity. I'm so happy to have you join us today, and even more excited about the guest that I actually have live in the studio this afternoon. I'm joined by Eva Janofsky. Hi, Eva.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Producer Ken.
Hello.
How's it going today?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Eva, thank you for joining us here at Go Art to record today's podcast. I am super excited to have you on. A little bit of a backstory as we get into your introduction of who you are. The podcast is really based on how to make sure that we're empowering people to always be authentic to themselves, to talk about inequities as we see them, specific to certain fields of career. And somebody actually responded to one of my recent posts about the lack of equity in tech and said, it's a more systemic issue than that. It's broader than just technology. So when I think about that, I also think about where are other areas that we do not see females being well represented. And that's where I kind of thought of the work that you do in athletic training. So I'd love to have you give us an introduction about yourself, who you are, and just kind of an overview.
Yeah, so I actually did not start in athletic training. My undergrad degree is a business degree from the University of Buffalo, and worked in business for 2 years, decided that it was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Didn't like sitting behind a desk every day, so kind of went back to my roots and decided I needed to get back into sports and just live my life in the sports world. So, yeah, it's been an interesting ride. I'm about to graduate in next week, actually, on the 6th.
That's awesome. And where did you go to school? Where did you transition to school to?
Yeah, so I am now at Lee University down in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Well, it's right outside, about 20 minutes outside of it. And kind of found it on a whim. All schools have to be KD certified. And so I just looked up random schools in the South to try to get in, and yeah, here we are today.
That's awesome. Well, and congratulations on graduating next weekend. Full transparency to everybody in the audience, Eva's actually my niece. So I wear this graduation with great pride, and I'm so proud of you and everything that you've done in transitioning, I know, to something that you love, which is really important. So, as we get started, let's have a little icebreaker.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
Let's talk about, do you have a favorite meal of the year?
Ooh, favorite meal.
Yeah.
I might be biased, but the cooking that we have in our family is like top notch. For all of you that don't know, this side of the family has some great bakers in it. And anytime there's cookies around, I'm pretty sure I gain about 5 pounds every Christmas just because of the amount of cookies and sweets and chocolates that we go through. So I'd have to say that.
I know. We have some great bakers in our family. It's crazy.
The one time that my mom did the cherry pie inside the chocolate cake, top notch.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Ken, what's your favorite meal?
That's a good question. If you go with home cooked, I'm always a big fan of going with a steak or something like that. Can never go wrong. But I have to say my favorite meal this year was probably the pancake pizza and beer after half marathon. that tasted the best.
That's your favorite meal this year. So far. That's fair. So I'm gonna see you two and raise it to first fish fry of North Bay vacation every year.
Ooh.
So every vacation this year. What do you think?
That's a good one.
That means we got to wait for your favorite meal of the year. It hasn't occurred yet.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Okay.
I haven't had that meal in 4 years now.
Yeah, well, you're graduating now. It's time to...
Yeah, I need to go back.
Get that meal in this year.
All right, so you decided to take this HR degree, this business degree that you had, and go back to doing something that you absolutely loved. And I know just watching you growing up, you loved soccer, you loved sports. how difficult of a decision was that? Because now you're uprooting your life. So what did it mean to yourself and being true to yourself to make that move?
I mean, it was super difficult. I just kind of decided to literally do a 180 of my entire life. Born and raised in Western New York, went to undergrad Western New York, had always lived here, and then all of a sudden I'm now moving to Tennessee. Don't know anyone. Closest family member is 13 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to dig deep and make sure that I was going to be able to do this. Not going to sit here and tell you that every day was easy. It was not. My mom received many breakdown phone calls. But yeah, that happens. And getting a master's degree is not an easy task. Producer Ken, you know. And so it's just trying, like, you have to make sure you actually want it. And, like, if I didn't know in my heart that this is what I wanted to do and where I ended up, I would not have lasted the 2 years. I would have been back here after first semester, not having a degree. I'd been like, well, that was a mistake. But
so for all the younger, females that are out there listening, and they have to make this decision, and even to the young men out there, actually, to have to make this decision. You touched upon listening to your heart and knowing in your heart that it was the right direction. I guess how do you get there though, right? Like, 'cause there's a lot of noise coming at you, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm a planner. I mean, I got it from my mom. My mom's a planner, and so I literally had in my old apartment this blank white wall, and I had sticky notes of different colors. So, like, green sticky notes were why I wanted to do it. Yellow sticky notes were my cautions, like, what's going to happen if this happens? Like, what could go wrong? And the red ones were, you can't do, like, this is what is going on. And as I was going, just the green kept piling up. And then doing self-reflection through, like, journaling and stuff, I am blessed that my Aunt Rosemary actually made this move years ago. She decided to become a midwife and up and moved herself to Tennessee. She's now back in Western New York,
Mm-hmm.
but I was able to talk to her and see what her experience was like and go from there.
Yeah, so I think that what you're bringing to light is the fact that no matter what, people need those coaches, mentors.
Oh, 100%. And I actually just got this tip yesterday from someone who's like, you should always have two mentors in your life. One is who is exactly like you, can sympathize and agree with you and let you just vent it out, and someone who is the exact opposite of you, so that when you go, they're kind of like, well, that's dumb, why are you complaining about that? Like, and you're just have those two opposite views, and you're like, oh, yeah, I really shouldn't be complaining about that. Like, that's so stupid of me. Like, go about it that way.
Yeah, I think it's important to have someone who will challenge you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you always have a mentor who's like, oh, I agree, then you're always getting that pat on your back and that it's going to be okay. But sometimes you need that, other voice to say, you may not want to hear this,
100%. And I'm a very bullheaded person, so I 100% need that person who's going to be like, Eva, come on now. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
That didn't happen that way, or maybe we should go about this another way.
Yeah. All right, so athletic trainer, when I set up the conversation, I, said that obviously, comments are coming that there's broader careers than just in the technology sector that have such a not fair reach for females joining. And so I did some research, and Zippia.com actually says the field that you're going into, athletic trainer, it's only 31% women, and the rest are men. And, it's not exactly a balanced out type of career field. I mean, anyone who looks at professional sports, we don't see a lot of females on the sidelines. So how did that play into your decision, or did it?
Honestly, it didn't. I kind of just found a career that I loved and wanted to do it. I didn't know about the equality issue until I was actually in it. And I actually have a new goal of becoming an athletic trainer in the NHL. And fun fact, there are no female athletic trainers in the NHL right now.
Really?
None. Not an assistant, not a head, none. And I mean, I'm blessed that my last internship for school was through Major League Soccer, and my team had a female on the team, so I got to talk to her, pick her brain. MLS is not the first professional sport she did. She also worked professional lacrosse down in Georgia, so she was also very familiar with coming to Buffalo, so it's kind of fun talking to her about that.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend for anyone who wants to go into professional sports to try to find somebody. But yeah, though there's not a lot of women around to kind of pick your ear, and when you do find them, they typically are more of that management role now and not on the field.
So tell us a little bit, so on the field, what does that mean? What actually are you out there doing? You know, is there some sort of perception that women can't do it because of X? Is there, what are the things that you're taking care of out there?
Yeah, so usually my short answer to people is when you see an athlete go down on the field and you have people run on and check on them, that's your athletic trainer, usually. Or someplace it's a physiotherapist, and that's more of like your European setting. But what people don't realize is how much we do in the background. Yes, we do your taping. Yes, we give out, like, treatments. And usually a treatment can go from any modalities to, like, doing electrical modalities to thermal modalities, things like that. But the part people don't talk about is that we're sometimes therapists. Like, I don't think that we go through enough classes that we should to do that, because we're sitting there working, like, especially in professional sports, we're sitting there and we're working with these athletes every day. These are their jobs. And in most professional sports, if you miss a game, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
Like, that athlete is paid based on games played. So that's a huge mental piece of what we do. Like, we have to get the athlete back out there so that they're not missing a paycheck. They go into workers' comp as soon as they can't play. Like, if we're practice is a different story. If you can't practice, doesn't, like, necessarily play a role in it. But as soon as you miss that game, you don't get a paycheck. So
yeah, there's a lot of mental pieces, I think, to major sport, to professional sports that probably we're not privy to, but you're right. You're there with a hurt player, and you have to become more of that therapist, both from a, probably mental, spiritual, everything, as opposed to just fixing their body.
Yeah, of course. And, like, with a lot of the professional sports, they do have, like, a sports psychologist on staff, so you can talk to them. But when it comes down to it, you're also a medical professional that they're trusting you with their bodies and their minds. So it's like, if an athlete is going through a season-ending injury, you have to be there to kind of pick up their spirits. And some days when you're doing their rehab and their physical rehab, you just kind of have to say, you know what, this was the plan, but let's do something totally different. Like, we'll do an injured Olympics, and we'll just make up a bunch of games that you can do to help them get through it mentally, because season-ending injury, you're on workers' comp that entire season. You're not getting paid what you're used to bringing in. Like,
yeah.
And then you have to worry about, if I come back next season and I'm not going to have my starting position again, or am I now going to be on the bench or sent down to the second team, or, like, for NHL, it'd be like the Sabres playing getting hurt and then getting sent down to Rochester.
Yep.
So
with that, it almost sounds like being a female would be to an advantage to some degree, because there's almost a form of nurturing or support that has to go into the role. Have you ever had any type of comments regarding that situation?
Yeah, so the other day I was talking to a male in the profession, and he actually told me that women are too nurturing and they baby the athletes too much, and now that your athlete is now going to see you as a mother instead of a professional. And I just kind of looked at him like, dude, what are you saying to me right now?
Yeah.
Like, how could you think that? Like, me being a nurturing person, I believe, and in my experience, has been a great thing. Like, when I was working in a high school setting, I was one of the first people an athlete came out to, and was able to get him to the right area so that he had help coming out to his family and like getting him what he needed. And then I have athletes that I now have deeper connections with because I've helped them through injuries when they're trying to make a team and things like that. Like, I don't understand how people can turn being a nurturing person into a bad thing, especially in this field.
Yeah, so I think I'll just parallel that to any field, actually. It is something that is such, they say it in a negative light, but that's actually a very positive experience for many people who are around them. There's many organizations who see a higher profitability when you have a more nurturing, woman C-suite in the role, helping to run organizations. So the fact that there's still that perception and even that discussion happening, how do you change that, though? Like, what was your response, and how do you think we go about starting to make that change?
So, I'm not a person who can hide my emotions on my face. When someone says something I do not agree with, it is apparent. My professors throughout the past 2 years have always told me to fix my face because as an athletic trainer, if an athlete's injured and, like, you have a, like, oh crap look on your face, they're going to see that and freaks them out more.
Yeah.
So this guy could see on my face that he obviously made me mad by his statements. And he just looked at me and he goes, well, what do you think? And I'm still a student at this point. Like, I can't ruffle feathers because I'm a student. I didn't have a job yet at this point.
Yep.
And I was like, well, crap. He does what I want to do. So I can't make him mad. And then I just sat there for a second, and he goes, it's okay if you disagree with me. And I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, yes, 100% disagree. And I just, like I told you, told him about the athlete that came out to me. Or, like, I had an athlete who it was a child on a team, and it was the first time he'd ever been injured. And he lost his starting position because he was injured. And he didn't know coming back from injury if he was going to get it back. And it was actually making his rehab longer because he wasn't trusting himself and he wasn't trusting his injury, like that it was fixed. So you have to show people that, yeah, I can be nurturing, but at the same time I can stick to my ground and, like, my athletes will do what I say. Like, and I just think that in this world, if you're a tough female, it is not associated positively. Like, if I'm sitting there and I say something one way and a male comes up and says it one way, they're taken very differently.
100%.
Like, it can be, I could literally say, hey, go eat. And they're like, wow, she's telling me what to do. Like, what the heck? A guy can come up and be like, hey, go eat. And they're like, okay, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, I literally just said the same thing. Like, why is it different coming out of my mouth rather than their mouth?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah.
You just got to prove yourself. Like,
100%. The credibility.
Yeah, credibility. A big saying in the athletic training world is that your patients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And my patients know right away how much I care because I'm a nurturing person and I want to help them. And so we start up small conversations. Like, we have to do ultrasound therapy. Usually those take around 10 minutes. I'm going to strike up a conversation with you. I'm not sitting there in silence for 10 minutes while I rub your leg. Like, no, that's boring. I'm bored. I know you're bored if I'm bored. So let's strike up. Talk to me. I want to know about your family. I want to know about your life. You just moved here? How's the move going?
Yep.
things like that.
You're also putting me at ease. I mean, they're waiting to hear what's going on. Dead air is going to just make them so anxious.
I tell them about what's going on in my life. People that I've met moving to Nashville, and I'm like, this is so weird. Like, this is not the way things go in New York. This person would have done this in New York, they would have been beat up. Like,
yeah,
things like that.
Yeah. So, when you were in high school, did they talk about this career being an option? Like, I feel so. When Elizabeth talked about STEM, she was talking about how it got discussed in middle school, and there were events, and then you get to high school and things are just kind of dropped. And those are the years where you're trying to figure out what you want to do. So were the local high schools encouraging, informative? Like, was this put on the table as a possibility when you were in high school?
So I didn't even know athletic trainers existed when I was in high school. Our school didn't have an athletic trainer. We had a physical therapist that came in, and I believe they just hired an athletic trainer this year. Like, this was the first school year that there was an athletic trainer on staff there. So, no clue. I actually didn't know about the profession until I started looking up medical professions in the sports world. I had no clue what an athletic trainer was until 2.5 years ago, maybe 6 months before I joined my program. It's kind of a whirlwind, but learned what it is, and then 6 months later, you applied for a master's degree for it, but hey, whatever. And that first semester was eye-opening because in my mind, an athletic trainer was just someone who taped and knew CPR in case someone went down with a heart condition.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I knew that they did.
Yep.
And now I know it's so much more. Like, there's not a day that I'm not busy. Like, I'm in professional sports. I'm still working with workers' comp, all the time. I thought I never was going to have to touch that again after I left HR. Like, nah, I don't need to do that. Like, and then you're learning, like, your notes and, like, how important your, like, doing detailed medical notes are. Because, like, if I had someone come in for me, they need to know what I'm doing with that athlete, like, down to where, like, if I dry needled, I mean, I'm not certified, so I can't do that yet, but if I dry needle someone, they need to know exactly where I put those needles and, like, what muscle group and things like that. So it's a lot more than people think.
It is. And so you bring up that healthcare link, because I don't think people realize that even from being an athletic trainer, you're still responsible for notations on treatment of care, and physicians really rely on that information. So there's almost that conduit liaison between yourself and the physicians who are overseeing your athletes.
Physician puts a lot of trust in you because they're not sitting there with the athletes every day. They're in their offices, and even in the professional setting, like, they come in probably at least once a week to check on the athletes, but other than that, they don't see them besides game days or home game days. Most don't even go to away games. Yeah. So you're their only line of communication. They're going to look to you and be like, hey, this guy's complaining that this autism pain scale is a 10 out of 10. Is he really a 10 out of 10? And you're that person who's going to be like, no, this guy does not complain. Like, if he's saying it's a 10 out of 10, you need to take that as an emergency. Like, go. Or I can be like, nah, this guy's low-key a baby. Like, not that I would ever call an athlete a baby, but, like, his pain level is different.
It is. Exactly.
And, like, you know your athlete that way. Like, I can be like, okay, 10 out of 10, okay, maybe it's not an exact emergency, or, like I said, the other guy, 10 out of 10, oh my God, we need to get you to the ER. What is happening?
So, but that brings up a good point. So, the physicians don't travel with the athletes, but the athletic trainers do.
Yes.
Right? So, from a continuity of just care perspective, you're truly nurturing and caring for these athletes
100%.
In every setting. So, I don't think there's visibility into how much of the day-to-day physical care automatically goes to an athletic trainer versus just, a physician who is oversight, but you're truly there with them, whether it's on the road or at a home game.
Sure. you're their first line of contact to medical issues.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some people have more than just an athletic trainer on staff. They'll have massage therapists and physical therapists and things like that. But if someone gets hurt, you're usually the first line of care that they're receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't understand, the higher level you go up, the less hours you're technically not on work. Like,
Right.
if I'm working at professional level and an athlete is texting me at 2 a.m., if I'm up, I'm answering that text.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they need something.
Yeah.
So,
I go back to I just don't understand why there's not more women in this profession, because it feels like it is such a solid one. Once you're there, there's a career path and there's opportunity, but do you need to drive awareness to what the career is, and what are your thoughts on that? How do we drive equity?
I think you definitely need to get it out there, and it really is a horrible thing what happened to Damar Hamlin, but his situation really shined the light on the importance of having athletic trainers and us being in that role. Like, if they weren't on the field, who knows what would have happened. They would have had to wait for EMS to get onto the field to try to save his life. They were already 4 rounds of CPR before EMS got onto the field. Yep. Or there was a college hockey player who took a skate to the neck, ended up cutting his carotid artery, and the athletic trainer had to hold his skin together so he would stop bleeding. And so without her on the field, once again, would have had to wait for EMS to get out there to him. And who knows if he would still be around today.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I don't understand why there's not more women. I was lucky to have a few women athletic trainers throughout my years at school to work with. But you don't see them in the professional world. And I think it's such a missed opportunity for us. I think we bring a whole new scope to the world, like the way of thinking and just the way we act. And I think people are, I don't want to say scared, but for the lack of a better term, a little scared to join the professional world, because it's definitely still a boys' club that goes on. Mm-hmm. And not that that's a bad thing, and I would never want to put a negative light on there being a boys' club, because, heck, if you go into a spot that's mostly girls, there's a girl club.
Sure.
There's more girls that are in hairdressing than males. So if I was a male going into that world, I feel like I would be a little intimidated too.
Sure.
So I think kind of got to put on our big girl pants and knock down some walls.
Yeah, and I think these types of conversations need to happen and further expand and grow to bring awareness to what
For sure, but I think they need to happen with the younger generations, because not ever, I'm kind of a unique situation where I decided to just flip my world around, but not a lot of mid-20-year-olds are going to do that, because they're usually set in what they're doing.
Yep.
So I think bringing in the light to your middle school, high school, heck, even elementary school, just showing people what the professions are, because you talk about it in high school, but a lot of people don't help you decide what you want to do in high school. So it's how am I supposed to know about athletic training if no one's talking about it?
Yeah, I think actually that's a very good point. So get into career days, get into those types of events that are happening and across the public schools. Actually, it was just part of one that happened at the Buffalo Public Schools, and it was phenomenal. You can, if you could put something that people don't think about as a career into perspective for these kids, then they start thinking. I used Josh Allen. And I talk data and analytics, and well, what does Josh Allen have to do with that? He uses them every time he goes out onto that field to understand how successful the plays are going to be.
That too, and I think people don't understand that to sports medicine there is a data side to it too. I have to I look at their GPS to see how much they're running, what their top speeds are. Okay, this guy got hurt. What part of the practice did he get hurt? Was he running at top speed, or was he doing a drill? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? What do we need to fix so that this doesn't happen to him again?
Yep.
So even if you are a data person, like, you
Get into it.
Get into it. Like, there's so much you can do. And even being an athletic trainer, you don't have to be on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my professors are still certified athletic trainers, and they run the program.
Yep.
Go into that. My one professor, she is literally the definition of a girl boss. She has like 4 companies to her. She is a certified athletic trainer. She still practices. She works at a gym and with body lifters, like, I don't know what they're, like, the people who perform.
Yeah.
And she helps them when they have ailments. And then she's a full-time professor. And then I think she also, like, flips houses or something on the side, too. And I'm like, Jesus, when do you sleep? Yeah. But, like, just because... And then she's, like, super into research. Like, she works with the local firefighters. And, like, not to get into too much detail, but heat stroke is defined at 104-degree body temperature. Firefighters, when they go into a burning building, their core body temp gets above that. Mm-hmm. So technically they're going into heat stroke without everything happening to them. Yeah. So it's like, how are they able to survive that, and what is it doing to their bodies?
Yeah.
Like, you're literally cooking your body when a firefighter runs into a building. And so she does all this research to figure out how this is affecting them.
Yep.
So it's like, you don't have to be on the sideline. There are so many other career paths that you could take as an athletic trainer.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it needs to be talked about more. I don't think that there's enough
for sure.
understanding of what the importance is to the positions that are coming, not only for major league sports, but also just to support firefighters, support research, to understand. Like,
oh yeah, like you don't have to be a sports person to be an athletic trainer. I mean, are those the majority of the jobs? Yes, like the high schools, the colleges, the professional world. But performing arts, they have athletic trainers on the sideline.
Yeah.
The Rockettes have an athletic trainer on staff.
Never would have thought about that.
Right?
But they're putting their body in such physical.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, most ballets have an athletic trainer on staff. Firefighters, police officers have someone on. Like, these are careers. Army has a lot of. They're starting to branch into having athletic trainers on staff, because when you go through the Army, think about all the stuff you have to do. They're literally rolling in the dirt half the time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine firing off those cannons are good for anyone's shoulder. Like, come on now. Like,
I don't think so. I didn't honestly wouldn't have thought about the ballet. But why wouldn't they? They're truly athletes.
They're athletes, and think about the stress they put on their feet.
Yes.
Being in point the entire time.
Yep.
It's crazy. Like,
incredible.
Their feet are so messed up for the rest of their life after they retire that if they don't take care of it, they're not going to be able to walk in 20 years. Like,
yeah, it is. So to me, still, when we start talking about the different areas and the different even venues that an athletic trainer is supporting, it continues to blow my mind why the statistics are so small as far as women who are in this profession. Just kind of thinking about it, you went from HR to athletic trainer, business to athletic trainer, transferable skills. I mean, at the heart, there's got to be so many, thinking about medical records, attention to details, those types of things. But what would you say are some of those top skills that you were able to say, I can bring this with me and make myself even that much more successful?
I mean, the workers' comp is probably one of the biggest ones.
I would imagine, yeah.
I walked into my first pro sport, and they were like, okay, this is workers' comp, and this is what you do. And I was like, ha, ha, ha. No, this is actually what you do. I got this. Don't worry about it. But other than that, like, working my people skills, like, as a human resources person, you're doing the FMLA for people. You know when they're getting married. You know when they're having babies. You know when there's a death in the family. Like, these are everything you're privy to. And it just transfers over. Like, that's how I'm able to sit there and have conversation with these people. They don't know that I'm low-key prying into their life. Like, they don't know that they're actually telling me their life story without telling me their life story. Like, one thing that I do is we have a question of the week. So I'll be like, especially with, like, the professional athletes, it's like, if you could go professional in any other sport, what would it be? Like, you can't work soccer anymore? What sport would you want to go professional in?
Yeah.
And they don't understand how much that's actually telling me. Or it's like, one of the other questions I did was, if you were to win the lottery right now, and your first purchase has to be something fun, like you can't pay off bills right away, what would it be? They don't know that that's telling me a lot about their likes and their dislikes. They just think it's a fun question.
Yeah.
Like, but now I know, like, if your first purchase is a car, okay, you're kind of a car person.
Yep.
Or a house, okay, why do you want to buy the house the first thing? Or who's the house for?
Yep.
And now you
learn so much about them, yes, based on that response.
Or it's like, and I will say there are hard parts about that, though. And, like, especially when you get into professional world, you have so many different cultures you're working with.
Yeah.
Like, you're working with people who are from South America, Europe, like, Japan, like, Asia, like, all parts of Asia. Like, you learn so much about people. And I think that people like working with people who they can trust. So it's like, I'm not afraid to ask them a question. Like, be like, hey, sorry if this comes out rude, but I want to know, is this offensive or not? Like, I don't want to offend you in the future, so please let me know if there's something that I need to change.
Yep.
And I've seen more females do that than I have seen males do that.
Yeah.
Where they want to know that they're not affecting the person negatively rather than...
Yeah, it goes to that sincerity in a
it
different...
goes to the nurturing aspect of a person.
Yeah, it does. So, you know, and it's funny because right now I'm doing a lot of people like in Czech Republic and even Ukraine, and I don't know if what I'm saying translates appropriately. So, in that attempt to be just caring about what's going on, you know, just tell me if this does not read across correctly, and we'll say it a different way.
Certain cultures, you're not supposed to make eye contact.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
And I had an athlete come up to me and was like, hey, just to let you know, this is actually considered rude in my culture.
Yep.
I felt horrible because I was like, in the United States, like, eye contact's everything. If you're not making eye contact, like, people think you're, like, shy, and it's not perceived as well. But in their culture, it was like, no, like, this is rude. And I was like, oh, gosh, I am horribly sorry. Like,
we teach strong handshake, eye contact.
Yeah.
And those are, you know, that's how you do the introduction. So, so many skills that were able to be transferred that are now going to help you succeed. What do we do? So what are some recommendations that you have as far as organizations that people might be able to go out to learn a little bit more about what it's like to be an athletic trainer, coaching opportunities, those types of things?
Yeah, so athletic training actually has a national society. It's called the NATA, National Athletic Trainers Association. That is the best website you can go to. If you're looking at schools, there's a BOC certification, or the CATE website, which is CAATE, and they give you all the schools that are certified for athletic training programs. Looking at that, and honestly, cold call people. That's what I did. I literally emailed so many people before I got into the program, and I was like, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what an athletic trainer is. Why should I, interview people? Just because you want to get into that school does not mean that you can't go and interview them as well. Yes. You need to know it's a fit. I applied for 4 schools. I was lucky enough to get into all of them, but I definitely didn't pick some of the schools because I was like, I can't work with this person every day. There's no way. The school I picked because of the people.
Yep.
Without Dr. Kicklighter or Dr. Lawler, I would not be the athletic trainer that I am today. And they're those 2 people who are complete opposite. Dr. Kicklighter's the one you go into and you cry in his office if you need it. Dr. Lawler's the one you're going to go to if you need a reality check. So having those people, and I knew right from that interview that those were the people that I wanted in my life and that I knew I was going to work the best with, because I personally need those people.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So I love that. And one thing I think that everyone should walk away with is reach out to people that you don't know.
Exactly.
Do not be afraid to say, you're doing what I think I might want to do, or
100%.
you were somewhere where I think I might want to go. They're going to respond.
I reached out to an athletic trainer in the NHL, and he was like, we don't do internships right now, but if you're ever in town and want to talk, come talk to me. They're people. They're not scary. Just because they want to, they're doing what you want to do does not, like, yes, it puts them on a pedestal because that's the gold standard, but they're also just people. Talk to them. Most people want to talk about themselves.
They do.
Yeah.
And they want to feel like they're helping.
Exactly. And they want you there. Like, the person I talked to in the NHL was like, we need women in the field.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be hard to get in the NHL? Oh my gosh. Yes, it's such a niche place to be that it'll take me years to get there.
Yep.
Am I going to work my butt off every single year until I get there? Of course.
Yep.
And you just can't be afraid to put in the work to get what you want. Like,
yeah.
And I think, going back to the same person who told me that nurturing people shouldn't be in the field, he also brought the negativity of women having children and, like, how it puts the staff at a disadvantage when they go out on maternity leave. No, it doesn't. If you're a well-oiled organization, you should have no problem. There are so many PRNs, athletic trainers out there, who would love to take a position with a professional organization for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, who would be like, yeah, let me do it. I know it's only 6 months. That's something that they now can put on their resume, and they might, in turn, get a job for a professional organization because they came.
And I just want to say that same man, if they offered fully paid paternity leave, he'd be taking it in a heartbeat because it would mean that he would have 8 weeks off of work. So
100%.
Yeah, that has to change. That mindset.
Yeah.
No matter where, are exactly why these types of conversations have to continue to cultivate and expand.
Like, so. Sorry, dude, but you don't have babies. You don't know what a woman can do during pregnancy and what she can't. Oh my God, there's the CrossFitter, Tia. If you follow her Instagram, I think she's like 8 months pregnant, and she's still pulling more weight on a snatch than I think I'll ever will be able to do in my entire life.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like, a pregnant woman can run onto the field.
Yeah.
Is it going to be more difficult when she's 8 months pregnant and she has a big belly? Of course. Can she still do it? I've seen women put people on stretchers being pregnant. It's not like, are they going to have to do it different than they normally do? Of course. But if you break your arm, are you going to have to do something differently than you normally do? Of course you are.
Yeah. That's
so.
Okay, to that guy, we'll talk offline about it. So staying authentic obviously is something that you've done through this whole shift, and you should be proud of yourself, reaching out to people. Everyone loves to help and support, and you build your community around that. So I've heard what's next is that you want to go to our beloved Sabres.
Yeah, I would love to go at some point in my life. I would love to come back to Buffalo, but
all right,
I'm actually going to the MLS next right now. So
all right, well, I've seen you on TV supporting the soccer leagues, so we'll continue to see you on TV.
Yes, you will.
All right, that's amazing. And just a shout out to Pagula Sports. We wouldn't say no to an NHL position here in Buffalo for Eva.
No, we would not.
Not the NFL?
I've worked football. Worked D1 football for a little bit. I'm the type of person who would rather be watching football with a beer in my hand than on the sideline. Love it. Have crazy respect for the people who work football. Like, it is a different lifestyle. You are there. You're the first person in, you're the last person to leave as an athletic trainer in football. And you have someone every day and something new every day. Like, for the D1 team I was with, we had 100 athletes on that team.
It's incredible.
Every single athlete had to get their ankles wrapped. That's 200 ankles.
It's a lot of ankles.
And you have an hour to do it. You have an hour to get all 100 athletes through and treated before they go to their morning session.
Yeah.
So I just...
All right, so you're going to go Sabres, not Bills, but...
Sabres, not Bills. Well, if the Bills came knocking on my door with an offer, let's be real here. I would not turn them down.
None of us would say no.
Not at all.
All right, Eva, any last thoughts? This has been... Actually, it's been really eye-opening for me, not only knowing a little bit more about kind of, you know, what you do on the day-to-day and more of the emotional support and how that really is a positive when it comes to having gender equity within the field. But, you know, I didn't even think about things like the Rockettes and other just non-traditional sports, if you will, but truly athletics.
Or like marching bands too.
Yeah, of needing that.
There's this thing called a marcher's fracture, and it's literally because they're pounding on their feet.
Yeah.
That they fracture their foot.
Yeah.
They need medical professionals too.
Yeah, everybody does, I think. Yeah, so knowing now really and taking a look at it's, you know, you guys are really being that liaison on the day-to-day treatment and care of a professional athlete to their physician. You know, that's a different way to kind of look at the role of an athletic trainer. So any last thoughts as we wrap up on, you know, things that we can do to help continue to drive visibility into the topic?
I think we just need to get out there, talk about it. I mean, the NATA does put on a conference every year. It's huge. Can't wait for the next year one. It's in New Orleans.
Oh.
Dying to go. But just getting out there and talking to it. High schools hopefully can start affording more athletic trainers. Like I said, I didn't know what an athletic trainer was because my school didn't have one. We had the physical therapist who came in, and she was a godsend. Don't get me wrong. Like, she helped me through all my ACLs, so it was great having her there. But athletic trainers do go through different training than physical therapists.
Yeah.
Like, that physical therapist had to learn online how to wrap an ankle, but I learned in class and have textbooks all about taping and, like, the different tapes. And they don't get that. So just talking and getting out there and women not being afraid to put themselves out there.
Yeah, and speak up.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Hey, producer Ken, did you think about like the Rockettes and those types of places needing athletic trainers?
Not in the slightest.
Yeah, I know. It's a very interesting It just opened up a whole new kind of light as to the depth that an athletic trainer really is playing into the availability.
Well, yeah, because when you think about medical professionals, you don't really think of an athletic trainer.
Yeah.
You think of your doctors, your physical therapists, your nurses, and you go down that path.
Yep.
You don't think about all the other aspects of people's lives that need an athletic trainer.
Yeah, that's amazing. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Super excited. You're going to walk the stage next Saturday?
I'm going to hobble the stage next Saturday.
So what happened to your foot here?
I was moving stuff around my room, prepping, because the host family I'm living with is getting ready to move.
Okay.
And I was, like, prepping my room for their staging photos, and a 20-pound weight fell on my foot.
That will hurt.
Yeah, so I broke my foot.
All right, well,
I will.
You're still able to take care of those athletes, but maybe be a little bit more empathetic with those that are in the booth.
Definitely a little more empathetic.
All right. Well, congratulations. Thank you, Pagula Sports, for giving a shout out for our first NHL.
First female NHL.
Yes, please do. And I'd also like to give a shout out, as always, to Go Art here in Batavia for the use of their beautiful podcast room. We absolutely love it here. Appreciate the community support. Go check them out at goart.org. Again, appreciate the community support. appreciate Go Art's use of their facilities, and just their team are top notch. And producer Ken and I have really gotten to know some of the folks here, and we really do appreciate their time and energy that they also provide to Powered by Authenticity. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. Eva, thanks again for being here. And producer Ken, thanks as always for your great job.
You got it. Go Bills, go Sabres.
Go Bills, go Sabres.
Go Bandits too, guys.
Go Bandits.